Our final front bench speaker is James Fox.
Lord Speaker, Lords, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be honest with you. The only reason Jamie supports an all-appointed chamber is because he wants to be a parliamentarian, yet he knows he's completely unelectable. The reasons which he gave you, however, were that an appointed chamber is firstly a legitimate chamber, something which we didn't even hear a response to, and I'll be getting on to the response to that, which was this kind of assertion of democracy over and over again. And also how experts ensure better government than a chamber full of politicians. And I'm going to go on to look at all of the problems associated with having a second chamber full of lots more politicians. But before I go on to do that, it's worth just looking at the debate so far, and particularly what we heard from the previous speaker. And it essentially, again, came down to democracy, democracy, democracy. And ladies and gentlemen, we find it quite funny that the proposition have so much faith in democracy, yet they're not even allowing kind of democracy, their uber-cool democratic PR system, to be in the powerful chamber in their democracy. Nor are they allowing the electorate, ladies and gentlemen, to re-elect the lords that they choose to elect. Which means all of their issues today about accountability and how lords are unaccountable don't stand. What it essentially comes down to, ladies and gentlemen, is they want the electorate to make 10-year appointments. And in so doing, we need to ask ourselves, who is better at appointing experts? An appointments commission who vet every single proposed lord, ladies and gentlemen, and make sure that they are experts? Or a few political parties saying, look at our list of experts, aren't they all experts? No, thank you. Making it sound really nice, putting on some television adverts and telling the electorate they're experts when the truth is we don't know. Nor did we hear, ladies and gentlemen, why, world-renowned authorities on medicine are going to stop being world-renowned authorities on medicine to go around campaigning to get elected. They have better things to do with their time. No, thank you. And in democracy, ladies and gentlemen, it's worth bearing something in mind. Jamie and I are not the side of anti-democracy. All of the supremacy in our parliamentary system sits in the House of Commons, which under the 1911 Parliament Act, no thank you, will ultimately have the final say, whatever the Lord says. But we believe, ladies and gentlemen, the only way you will get experts into the House of Lords is if they're appointed. And therefore, if you want scrutiny to truly take place, they need to be experts and not politicians. And then we heard another thing, which was this idea about kind of not having confidence in politics, no thank you, and engaging the people war. And it's quite funny he stood up and said nobody turns up to elections, because that merely shows that nobody really has faith in elected officials. But his points on confidence were also quite interesting. Because if you go up to the average member of the British public and ask them what the difference is between the government and the mafia, they'll tell you that one of them is organised. Ladies and gentlemen, people do not trust their politicians. They probably trust them just above their second-hand car dealers and just below their crack cocaine dealers. And we say if you want to restore confidence in a democratic system, you don't fill it to the brim with the politicians that they don't trust in the first place. The electorate are certainly not worried about the performance of lords, ladies and gentlemen, no thank you, who the House of Commons actually get a lot of benefit from having those expert opinions put to them, and often accept a lot of the amendments that the House of Lords make. That was a funny noise. So now, ladies and gentlemen, let's just consider the benefit of not having this chamber full of politicians. And it's worth just bearing in mind here the quality of the politicians we'll be getting, because they're limited to one term of election. That means any career politician is going to firstly want to get into the House of Commons, then probably Europe, then probably a devolved assembly, then the local council, and if they're not good enough to be chosen on any list for any of those, ladies and gentlemen, they'll stand to get into our expert scrutinising chamber, which we really see as being quite funny. No, I accept your point, actually.
Do you really think that this, one of the most powerful buildings in the country, is going to be a turn-off for people who want to...
Well, so this actually just brings me on to what I want to say, which is that politicians are in what they do for a career, bearing in mind, of course, that experts don't have enough time to try and get in here via the electoral process. Politicians are ambitious. It's their career. And if they want to have any chance in that career, even if they're fifth-rate politicians, they're going to need to listen to their party whips if they ever want a chance of being promoted within their party. That means being loyal, unquestioning, supportive, speaking in favour of your party line, whatever you think about. That's not scrutiny, ladies and gentlemen. That's towing a party line. That's making this chamber have three opinions. Three opinions, party opinions, which have been differentiated, polarised, which respond to issues with yes or no, with black or white, in order to dumb down politics and make it accessible to the electorate. No, thank you. And that's not what the second chamber is about, as they've conceded, by making it subordinate and wanting experts in it. It's not about dumbing down legislation for the electorate. It's about getting into the important, nitty-gritty, boring detail, ladies and gentlemen, and making sure that our legislation is effective. So, essentially today, ladies and gentlemen, there is a very important choice to be made for this historic chamber. Either you want it full of party-whipped politicians, sitting there relentlessly towing and blindly towing polarised partisan policies, all due to this abstract assertion of democracy. If you support that kind of chamber, ladies and gentlemen, you support the proposition. If, however, you believe that a chamber full of experts who will scrutinise legislation for the sake of legislation in and of itself, and in so doing serve democracy by improving the legislation that democracy proposes just down the hallway, then, ladies and gentlemen, you are on the side of good government. Then, ladies and gentlemen, you are on the side of the opposition. And it's for all of these reasons that Jamie and I proudly stand today against this motion. Thank you.